Hiya guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG. Because at the end of another week, the end of another poll, we've got a fantastic win for Star Frontier's Alpha Dawn. Now this is my personal copy and I'm afraid I've only got one of the 3 booklets out of the box left. I seem to have lost them over the 40 or so years that I've had this. Now I did notice while looking through it, it's got one of my friends' names written in the front. So it's possible my copy got mixed up with theirs and they still have a complete box set somewhere. But I lost contact with them many years ago. They're an old school friend. So whether they've kept it, whether they're still gaming, I have no idea. But that's my one, so I cannot review the full thing in a physical copy. So we'll be going over to the computer desktop to review PDFs of it. Now, as usual, I'll be back at the end of the video with some other channel related stuff and some other poll related stuff. But before I do that, I would like to take a moment to talk about my Patreons, who are wonderful, wonderful people and make all of this possible by their support. So I'd like to thank them from the absolute bottom of my heart. Their efforts are so much appreciated. Now, if you'd like to join them and help support the channel, and I sure wish you would, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, or you'd like to see one of the other levels of patronage we've got, then there's a Patreon in the description down below. If you click on that and check it out, it'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, let's have a look at Star Frontier's Alpha Dawn. So, this is Star Frontier's Alpha Dawn, which is basically the second edition of Star Frontiers. When I put up in the poll last week, I'd totally forgotten that Alpha Dawn's the second edition. And that's the version I've got. So the version I'm familiar with, so the version we'll be looking through. Now, it came as a box set from TSR in 1983, Alpha Dawn came out. And it has the standard cover with a little piece of information. This game requires no game board because the action takes place in the player's imagination with planetary adventures in alien worlds as the main event. Ideal for 3 or more beginning to intermediate players ages 10 and up. And the back cover of the box, the original Star Frontier's Alpha Dawn. Alpha Dawn, stage 1 of the Star Frontier's science fiction game system. A great way to enter the world of science fiction role-playing. These basic rules teach you how to create characters, move and fight on the game map, how to create adventures of your own. Included adventure Crash on Volturnus is simple enough for both beginning players and referees. Stage 2, expanded rules and much more. Picture the world-famous Dungeons & Dragons game. Now imagine the same excitement in a science fiction setting. Inside this box you'll find our expanded rules that add that kind of challenge, detail and opportunity for victory. Don't miss the Star Frontier's Nighthawk's exciting board game and role-playing expansion rules to Star Frontier's Alpha Dawn game. Everything you need is in this box. Set includes basic rules, expanded rulebook, Crash on Volturnus module, full colour map, 285 counters and 2 10-sided dice. And inside the box was the basic game rules, the expanded game rules, which is the only physical part of the box I have left, the rest has been lost, and the adventure module Crash on Volturnus. So, Alpha Dawn itself, the basic game rules, is only 20 pages long, and this reminds me a lot of the Marvel Superheroes introduction. So we go inside. The formatting looks very much like early Dungeons & Dragons, TSR stuff of the time. Nice artwork, I have to say. I really do like it, and it has basically all the different species there, which we'll see as we go through. And we've got a setup, very much like Marvel Superheroes had a comic strip introducing the players into what they'll be doing. This has very similar in a short science fiction type story. Then we've got an introduction, what the game is about, how to create characters, ability score tables, an example character sheet, and then we've got the basic rules, map and playing pieces, game turn sequence, initiative, movement, skimmers, monorail, combat system, different types of weapons and their ranges, grenade bounces, automatic hits. These don't seem too simple, but they are simplified compared to the main rules, because we're already going on to equipment, standard equipment packs, coveralls, communicators, stimulants, different types of weapons. And then we've got adventures, and it's got a setup of what you'll be doing, and a sample adventure, the setup, with boxed out text, and a very short adventure with the rewards, how many credits the players get. We've got alien creatures, so we've got an example of people going after an alien monster, the Hydra, how to design your own creatures, basics on how to create your own adventures, what the rewards should be like, some ideas, 4 different ideas, the metric system, and a glossary of terms, and a character sheet on the back. And that's the basic book. It goes through everything very simply, gets you into the world. But we have the expanded game rules. So, inside this, it's a thicker book. It's about 3 times the size. Cover art by Larry Elmore, editing Steve Winter. A large table of contents. And we go through much of the same as we went through in the basic, but obviously lots more fleshed out. Introduction, the differences between the basic and expanded rules. How to play without a map. How to play Theatre of the Mind games. Expanded game characters, so how to take those basic ones and add more to them to make them part of the expanded rule set. How to improve characters, spending experience. And then we go into the races. As I said, we had an image of all the races together, and now we go through them in detail. So we've got Dralocytes, short rubbery aliens that have no bones or hard body parts. They're sort of mushy creatures, and I do like the way that all of the creatures, even though some of the artwork here is very faded, but they are almost being cut open so you can see their internal organs. Reminds me a lot of the original UFO Enemy Unknown game, where you'd get the aliens, and then when you'd autopsied them and they'd been cut open, you got the same image, but they'd been cut wide open. I really like those images for some reason. Must be a bit sick in the head, I think. Anyway, after the Dralocytes, we've got humans. And it features different parts. Obviously, the information you should be aware of. Humans are what you most probably are. But it's pointing out we've got bony extrusions, teeth, that are vision straightforward, how our eyes work, our hands for manipulating things. Then we've got the Vrusk. Look like large insects. 8 legs grow from the abdomen, 4 on each side. Their torso is upright and the front of their abdomen. The torso is humanoid. We can see them cut open for their organs as well. We go through their senses, speech, society and customs, their attitudes and their special abilities. Then we've got these Yazirians, who look like bat people. They're tall, thin humanoids. They have long arms and legs, slender torsos. 2 large flaps of skin grow on either side of their bodies. Their special abilities are battle rage and gliding, so they are very much bat people. And then we've got the Sathar. Long worm-like aliens. Their bodies are divided up into segments like an earthworm. Their attitudes, their classified information. They have hypnotism and Sathar ability modifiers. Then we're on to the section about skills. So how to learn skills and what the different skills are once we're using them. We've got repair skills, we've got different weapon skills, including beam weapons, gyrojets, melee weapons, etc. The demolition skill on setting charges, diffusing them, martial arts, technical skills like programming computers or computer skill, which allows you to operate computers, write programs, defeat security, bypass security, display information, manipulate programs, interface, repair. We've got robotic skills. Lots of different things you can do to robots there, alter their programming. Technician skills. Analyze samples, ecosystems. We've got stealth there. We've got medical skills, including minor surgery and major surgery, controlling infection. We've got communication skills, hypnosis. And then we're through the skills and we're into movement. So we've got endurance, different types of terrain, how fast you can move across them, including different types of creature, because we've got walking and slithering. We've got encumbrance, stacking, wounds, different types of mixed parties, what speed they'll move at. Whether you've got vehicles and riding animals. Then we've got the expanded combat rules. So combat sequence, surprise, initiative, declaration, movement, all the sort of usual things. Ranged weapons, skill modifiers, different things like telescopic sights and taking careful aim, whether you're in cover. Bursts, target size, lots of different things to take into account. Opportunity shots, automatic hits. We've got grenades, different numbers of attacks. And then we're on to section on fighting animals and robots. Different weapons. What happens when you get damaged. And then we're on to vehicles. So we've got ground cars, jet copters, air cars, a wide variety of different vehicles, and how to handle them in combat for vehicle movement, whether you're swerving, turning, etc. What happens if you crash a vehicle? How to have combat in vehicles. What do you do about flying vehicles? What happens if they get damaged and crash? Lots of other vehicles, including monorails, ships. And then we're on to the section on creatures. So what is a creature's purpose? What type of creature is it? What does it look like? How to create them? Different reactions. And then we've got some sample creatures. Strangler shoots, army rats, funnel worms, megasaurus, land whales, which look really quite interesting, slithers, which are a sapphire attack monster, sand sharks, winged rippers, queequeegs, Tomar's horses, and that's the sample animals, and we're through into equipment. So how much they cost and how much they mass. We've got robotic design, we've got different types of computers, and different weapons descriptions, different equipment, computers and their programs, robots and how to build them up, so what different bodies they've got, what kind of movement they have, as well as some sample ones. Various miscellaneous equipment. Then we've got information about the frontier worlds and societies, including a list of frontier worlds and then a map. How time works, what languages across the galaxy are, the cost of living. And then we're on to the games mastering section, how to referee. So how to prepare for playing, controlling the adventure, using modifiers. We've got an example of play. What they get paid and what experience they learn, how to be a good referee. And then we're on to a section about how to create adventures. So what themes are you going to go for? What setting is it going to have? Different random events, special rules, whether you're going to write a script and create maps. And then we've got a sample adventure about a crashed starship. Talking about non-player characters, different reactions they've got. And then at the very back we've got reading for fun and ideas. We've got stuff here like The Star's My Destination, The Martian Chronicles, the Dune series, Starship Troopers and The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert Heinlein. And on the back, the index. And then we're on to the last book in the box, which is Crash on Volturnus. Now it comes with some maps of the surface of the planet, which is a hex crawl basically. We'll see within the adventure itself it talks about that. And we've got the bridge of a starship, Starship Bridge Area map. Going through the adventure, I'm not going to go into it in massive detail, but it's going through different stuff about how an adventure will be formatted. So referee notes, module briefing, using the maps, mapping, sighting on Volturnus, movement, random encounters. We've got the map key for the planet, including various map symbols. Got space pirates and encounter. Searching for cargo, escaping. It's a fairly short adventure, but there's a few sections to it which go through the very basics. We've got boxed out sections for the Games Master to read, so it's a fairly modern style of adventure, easy to read. It's a bunch of pages long. It's what, 30 odd pages long here. Magma monsters, an underground shore, the Isle of Mutating Fungus. And then we've got some updates. So we've got different types of aliens which exist on Volturnus itself. So the burrower snake, the dropper, the flitter, jawfish, lopers, magma monsters, mutating funguses, quick death, rasties, shovel mouths, Volturna cave bear. We've got various player characters. So we've got pre-generated characters with their stats and all that, and short backgrounds. So we have Captain Lewis V. Jameson. Now, Jameson's a name I recognise because they use that a lot in the Elite games. That's your default name, which I thought was from Traveller, but it seems to be here in Star Frontiers as well. 22 years service, trained Star Military Forces, combat veteran. He's got the Truan Star Medal of Valor, commander 2 previous exploration missions. We go through different characters. There's a Drala site there, a Vrusk, a Yazirian. a blank map for the players to use, information about the habitable planet Volturnus, cultural background of the Ulmor, some maps, another sort of combat map, and we've got a bunch of pre-rolled characters. So you don't have to make one up, you can just draw one of these if something happens to one of the characters. Another blank map. And that is it. There's obviously a lot of counters and things I don't have, but there's no real point in looking at those. The game brings back a lot of memories to me. I bought it at the time but never played it. So I've looked through these books lots and lots, and they've inspired me to lots of science fiction things. But it's been surprising how much I have lost over the years, so this was a real surprise to look through. But it looks very familiar from all the other early TSR games we've looked at. The formatting's the same, the way they've laid it out and introduced it in the basic game, and then we've got the more advanced rules, so you can just sit down and play with your pals when you are about sort of 10 years old, and it'd be easy enough. You're just getting down and doing some role-playing, rolling dice, fighting monsters, that kind of cool stuff. And then you could get onto the advanced rules. Your characters could grow and learn new things, you could get new abilities, you could create things far more detailed. It's a wonderful introduction to role-playing, and to me, I'm far more fond of this than I am of Traveller. Even though I've got a lot more Traveller stuff, this is the first science fiction game I really looked through, apart from Star Race. But that was very much a rip-off of Star Wars. So this was its own thing. This was the first full role-playing game I think I looked at, which was science fiction. I eventually got into Traveller, and I've bought loads of editions of that over the years, but I'm just fond of Star Frontiers. I really like it. So that was Star Frontiers Alpha Dawn, and that won the poll this week with some 34% of the vote, which was a very close race, because at the start of it, the day I put up the poll, I decided to check it just before I went to bed that night. And I'll put the chart somewhere up here, because it was a three-way tie. Even after about half the votes were cast in that first day, it still was neck and neck, all of them on exactly the same votes. So it left me wondering what was going to win. Now I'm very, very glad that Star Frontiers won. That's been sitting in my collection for round about 40 years, so an absolute joy to dig it out and go through it. But the other games I would have loved to have covered as well, because in second place on 29% of the vote was Palladium Fantasy role-playing game. In third place was the James Bond 007 role-playing game on 23%, and then lagging behind was Dragonbane on only 14%. But there was interest in all of them. I noticed in the comments that some people were wishing they could have voted 4 times because they really wanted to see all of them. So welcome to my world, because I want to see all of these as well. I want to go through them all. But as usual, they're cleared out of the poll. But rather than choosing something for how I think people will be interested in it, this time I merely chose it because they happen to be on my desk here. I was tidying up the other day, putting stuff that I'd reviewed over the last few months away, because I'm very lackadaisical in my efforts in that way, and I found these adventures which I dug out for previous polls, but they'd never been covered. So, first of all, we've got the Venusian Apocalypse, the second seal of repulsion for the Mutant Chronicles role-playing game. Now this is the start of a campaign, and it's been too long since I've covered any Mutant Chronicles stuff. It's a fabulous game. Some really interesting stuff going on. Basically Doom in space. Loads and loads of fun. So, shall we start covering a campaign of it? Or, we've got for the Babylon 5 role-playing game, The Fiery Trial, from Mongoose Publishing in 2003. Now this is a campaign book, but it's designed to be split between other adventures. So much like a season of Babylon 5 would have independent adventures, but then certain things which continue the plot of the entire season, that's how this campaign is planned, for things to slot in places and lead to an overarching storyline, lasting a full season. It'd be fascinating to have a look and see how they managed with that. Then, for Fading Suns, we've got Into the Dark. Now this is something I don't know much about. I was gifted a lot of Fading Sun stuff, and it is really, really good. So it'd be a joy to read it through and see what one of the adventures is like. But I cannot say anything more than that about it at the moment. And finally, we've got Lone Wolf, Dawn of Destruction, from Mongoose Publishing in 2005. Now, Lone Wolf is the game books that I grew up playing. They were my basic introduction to role-playing. I loved the story. I loved being Lone Wolf, carrying on through those different novels, and the role-playing game's cool as well. I played that and had a load of fun. But anyway, it's up to you now. It's in your hands. Vote in the poll and we shall see what we cover. What else have I been up to? Well, over on DriveThruRPG, I've been releasing some character classes and some races. I had ideas for some special races which don't fit in the normal slots of those races. You know, sea-dwelling halflings, underdark halflings as well. I seem to be stuck on halflings, but I came up with some ideas for different races in different circumstances than the standard, and I thought I would have a play around with those. So they're on DriveThruRPG, or if you're a Patreon of Laird or Librarian status, they're shared with you in a shared Google Drive. So check them out there. You can get access to everything that I've written, which is coming up to 500 booklets. It's getting quite a number. And over on rpggamer.org, we have been finishing off the various comic series. So we've finished off the Vader comic, and now I've been working my way through the last issues of the High Republic Phase 3 comic series, which has been a bit of a disappointment, but the High Republic comics always seem to be. They start off with great ideas and then don't carry through with it. And we'll be going back to the Knights of the Old Republic series War as we lead up to the release of the next Star Wars series. So as I usually do, I'll review one day and I'll do stats the next. If you're interested in the Star Wars D6 system, if you come over and check us out on rpggamer.org. But anyway, I think I've been whittering on for quite long enough as usual, so thank you very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.